go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Breakdown Besties podcast. I'm Ananya,
I'm Akshay.
and we are your Breakdown Besties. Together, we have about 14 years of experience writing for shows like Mismatched, Wedding.com, Ishq in the Air, Grahan, Rana Naidu, Inside Edge, and a host of other things which have gotten stuck in development hell, but will see the light of day one day. On the Breakdown Besties podcast, we break down the techniques and the tips that make our iconic Bollywood movies, well, iconic. We analyze all the craft, all the tricks, all the things that were used on the page to make the movie come alive on the screen. We go into breaking down scenes, the log line, the hero's journey, theme, plot, everything else. This is a screenwriting classroom experience delivered to you film school style. We're doing this for ourselves because we never got to go to film school, and we're doing it for you because hey, it just might be helpful. So come along for the ride. And today, the film that we will be analyzing is a 2007 audience favorite, written by Mani Ratnam and dialogues by Vijay Krishna Acharya. It is Guru, the movie with the most phenomenal soundtrack ever.
Yeah.
Like, just did not like fast forward through that, which I do through every almost same sounding song with Varun Dhawan and Ananya Pandey and all the girls who I couldn't pick out of a lineup. No offense to them, they're all great looking. It's just
Yeah.
everything looks the same, everything feels the same, like everything sounds the same.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, it's just, yeah,
It's what they say, Zarification of culture has happened. So
yeah,
essentially that.
basically, yeah, essentially that. So, Guru is the story of, as Wikipedia says, Dhirubhai Ambani, or in this film, Guru Krant. And this film follows the story of his humble beginnings in a village in Gujarat, how he goes abroad to work, before he finally comes back to India and decides to move to Bombay to build his fortunes. And that is really the story that this film is taking us on. That's the journey. It's nothing more than that, right?
Yeah.
But of course, it's never just that. So simple. But it's simple because all the mechanisms underneath are just working so well for the film. And that's what we're going to break down now to see how what's on the page ends up being on the screen, or how what's on the screen begins with being on the page. Right?
Both are correct.
Not the correct. Thanks, Akshay.
It's active voice versus passive voice. It's that song, that dabang song, तेरे मस्त मस्त दो नैन मेरे दिल का ले गए चैन. And the next line is मेरे दिल का ले गए चैन तेरे मस्त मस्त दो नैन.
But there, the cause and effect remains the same. In what I said, the cause and effect doesn't stay the same. Because
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know, maybe, I don't know. I overthought that. Never mind, this is not an English class. So
Yeah.
this is a screenwriting class. So without further ado, despite the much ado that we have done, we shall get into the most essential building block of our screenplay, the most important technique, the log line. Okay. So, if this is your first episode, your first time with us, we want to tell you about the log line and how we define it and what the most important elements are. The log line is your entire film summarized in one line. It is your guiding light. It tells you exactly what elements need to be there to make the movie successful. Every scene, every sequence, sometimes even pieces of dialogue, have to mimic what the logline is trying to do and achieve it. A successful logline contains four important elements: goal, conflict, flaw, and stakes. What are these elements now? The goal. The goal is the reason the movie is being made. It's the journey
Oh,
we're following our character on. Without them, there is no story to go. The
oh,
characters won't achieve anything. So you need the goal. Then you need to have the flaw. Because if your character is perfect, there's no character arc, and the movie is boring. Or
Very
even if
boring.
they're
Yeah.
very boring, right? Or even if there is no flaw, you either have to have a block or a wound,
Hmm.
something that will come in the character's way that will stop them, something that comes from within,
Hmm.
right? And
It's
that's the
something they'll have
reason,
to overcome, right? Essentially.
exactly, in
Yeah.
order to achieve their goal. But the
Hmm.
real goal is actually overcoming this flaw.
Hmm.
That's the need.
Hmm.
Then you have the conflict, which is the force which attacks this flaw of your character and creates a story engine. You know that your character is going to constantly be coming up against this conflict, against this antagonist, and as they fight them, you take the story forward. And then you have the stakes. The stakes are what the character will lose should they not achieve their goal. You can't just lose the goal because you didn't have it in the first place. You have to lose a little something more, something that's driving you to achieve this. And those are your stakes, right?
Right.
Okay, perfect. So, can I read out the log line I have?
Yeah.
You. Yeah. When an ambitious and sharp villager decides to come to Bombay to make his fortunes, he must contend with the business hegemony of the generationally wealthy or lose his livelihood.
Yeah. More or less, it's there. I
Hmm.
I just feel the stake in a film like this is so it's so intangible, right? Like it's like in
Yeah.
this case, it's not about he will lose his livelihood, right? Like it's he will lose the way he wanted to live his life, like right, like or
True. His vision for his
his
life.
life, yeah, like and that's a grief in itself, right? Like in
Hmm.
some way, like they say ki, the life you
Yeah.
couldn't live, you have to grieve for that. So that's kind of the stake
True.
would have been this. Uh,
True.
but again, to put that in a log line, it's just almost unnecessary at that point.
Yeah. It's not tangible, right? I think
Huh,
that's the thing. So it's hard to kind of sell it.
huh,
But yeah, I see what you mean though. He will lose all the belief he had in himself or,
huh.
like his ambition, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
And I think it's hard to establish, like the stake is a slightly hard to establish in a biopic film of sorts. Like, because our lives are generally not written as movies, right? So,
Hmm.
uh, hence, I feel like very few biopics are coherent. Like, what,
Hmm.
in the sense that generally what they make a biopic is like from the childhood to his death, show everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The best biopics are sort of like they capture one time frame or some like
Hmm.
particular, so that gives you the stake. Like, let's say so and so person was the peak of their life. How do they
Yeah.
deal? Because then they can fall down. So
Yeah.
that could be the stake, but in a film like this, it's not. I don't think so.
Correct.
Hmm.
Correct.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
But the other elements,
Huh.
so we know that the stakes are somewhat vague over here.
Hmm. Hmm.
The goal is to make his fortunes. The block is that he's a villager. I mean, and by
Hmm.
villager, I mean unpolished, unprivileged, all of that.
Hmm.
And the conflict is old money, the generationally wealthy. They
Yeah.
are the antagonist, the driving force in
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
film, right? Of
Yeah.
conflict. Hmm. Okay. So that is our log line, I believe.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. I think you summarized it quite well, I think.
Mm. Great, great. Okay, so let's get into the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what is the hero's journey? The hero's journey is a storytelling structure, one that tells us what beats need to be hit at what particular moments in the film so that your audience is getting an emotional hit throughout the story at given points in time. If your story is weak in some ways, which may or may not be the case, this structural spine of the hero's journey will ensure that your audience is coming with you
Hmm.
on your hero's journey. So let's get into the hero's journey of Guru.
Yeah.
And this is essentially the hero's journey mapped across Guru's life.
Hmm.
So, what it begins with his ordinary world.
Hmm.
Now, I believe his ordinary world. What is the ordinary world? The ordinary world are the hero's circumstances before he decided to go on this journey. Who he is, where he lives, essentially the five W's: who,
Hmm.
where, what, why, how
When?
is not a W, when. Yes. Yeah. You look so proud of yourself.
I'm very happy. It's a small choice of life.
So choice, yes. So you establish these five W's of your setting if you give context to the audience. So in our ordinary world, we see that Guru is it's a fairly long sequence.
Hmm.
His first maths professor's son in the village who has failed his seems like class 10th or 12th exams,
Hmm.
and he decides, and his dad is angry.
Hmm.
So he goes to Turkey to work, much to his dad's chagrin, and finds a job there. He does really well at the job. We establish many, many things about his character, which we can come to when we go into like the character
Hmm.
development techniques. And he comes back to and India.
Yeah,
Would
he even makes a choice that he rose up the ranks there. He was getting
yeah,
promotion, and he here decides that he wants to do something of his own. He wants to make
own
his own business.
business.
And in a regular film, I feel like this would be like, say, a call to action where an opportunities come to him. But I feel in a film like this, where you already know that he's going to be a businessman, it's not
Yeah.
something different. It's not, I think it's part of his regular life. Like, it's
Oh.
definitely, no,
Okay, no, I'm curious. Tell me why you think so.
because it wasn't a moment. Like, nothing really led to him to decide that this is, I want to do this. Like, if let's say if somebody humiliated him that, oh, this is what you'll be after working under me for 8, 10 years, or if he was denied a promotion and
Hmm.
he realizes that, oh, you know what, I have to do a business now of my own. But it just came such matter of fact in the film. Maybe I missed something. I don't know if there was some inciting thing to this, but it just felt like this is who he is. He is like, he has some sort of an knack.
Okay, so you wouldn't say that the moment when he decides कि business करना है is a call to action.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so let's get into call to action then.
Hmm.
Call to action is when your hero gets an invitation to join the new world.
Hmm.
He may refuse this call, he may accept this call. Usually, this call does come from the outside.
Hmm.
And I believed in this
Hmm.
film that this was
Hmm.
a call that came from the inside, like him
Yeah.
deciding
Hmm. Hmm.
that I want to do, it's time to do a business is
Hmm.
the call to action.
Hmm.
And I think the refusal of the call doesn't come from him,
Hmm.
it comes from his father,
Yeah.
who says that you will not make any money in your life. You're a
Hmm.
fool to have quit your job and
Hmm.
come back to India and to want to go to Bombay and make your fortunes.
Hmm.
And you will never be worth anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, where are you and I differing on the call to action here?
I For this film, I noticed one thing, that the call to action and refusal sort of they come multiple times. It's not one moment that he has decided
Hmm.
that I'm doing this, and there is not one refusal. It's
Yeah.
like one call, one refusal, one call, one refusal, one call. They all keep like escalating until like that one refusal to call moment happens. It's his for it first. Actually, you're right. It starts in Turkey when like he says, "I have to go back," and there's this manager at Turkey. He says, "Oh, you will not be able to do anything." Then he comes back to
Hmm.
his town in Gujarat. He tells his dad. His dad tells him no. And
Yeah.
then even like the stockbroker guy, when he comes to Bombay, he says no. Uh,
That is after he has crossed the threshold there. So, I think you're going too again now.
oh, okay. So maybe like, oh, my crossing the threshold is something else. Okay, okay, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I have the meeting the mentor beat.
Hmm.
which is where he meets his best friend,
Hmm.
Jignesh, whose dad
Hmm.
is a moneylender.
Hmm.
And he says, we'll be partners in business, but
Hmm.
his dad is not lending money anymore.
Hmm.
He says that
Hmm.
he's saving all his money to get my sister married off to pay his dowry.
Hmm.
So if you marry my sister, like,
Hmm.
oh no, he doesn't say that. Abhishek Bachchan's character, Guru, says that fine, I'll marry your sister. And
Hmm.
he's like, I'm ready for marriage anyway, and I'll take it for uh,
Hmm.
as just as investment to start my business.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then he goes, he speaks to the
Hmm.
to be father-in-law. The to be father-in-law said, "Oh, your dad said you're a fool for
Hmm.
wanting to like go into business. You will
Hmm.
definitely make a profit because your dad knows nothing about money." And
Hmm.
gives him his daughter, who is Aishwarya Rai, hand in marriage.
Hmm.
And I think crossing the threshold was a very obvious crossing the threshold for me.
Hmm.
When they both get into, everyone gets into the train, the three of them,
Hmm.
Jignesh, Aishwarya Rai's character Sujata, and Guru,
Hmm.
get into the
Hmm.
train and go to Bombay.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, I thought I made it a little too ahead, actually. I also thought him coming to Bombay wasn't feeling monumental to me. Like, again, like, that's his trajectory already. He's decided. It's not something he thought right now that he's going to go to Mumbai. Like as a
Hmm.
character, he had planned something that a little bit ahead in his mind. So I actually felt the refusal keeps coming till he actually reaches Arzan contractors this thing, where he's told that sure, you'll get the letter of entry into the club, but he doesn't get it.
But then that, by that logic, even that's a refusal.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So all of that until this
Hmm.
moment becomes call to action and refusal, like a mixture of one big sequence. And to me, I thought the meeting of mentor was Mithun Chakrabarti's character.
I agree with you in the sense that
Hmm.
he's the mentor character. I don't think from a
Hmm.
structural point of view, he's a mentor. We've had this
Oh,
discussion before in one of the
I
episodes,
know.
I think by
Yeah, yeah,
Glass
yeah.
Company itself. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah.
the mentor, and he plays another role also, which I'll go into in the
Yeah,
character thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And because I thought the more monumental moment was of crossing the threshold for me, it felt like the moment where he knows the market got shut because he like spoke badly to the president of that company of that association, and he sort of puts all the sacks of mal in in the IAS officer's house, and that sort of establishes his
Power.
power in the place. I thought that
Hmm.
was crossing the threshold in a sense, which is very true to his character, that he is going to do these like difficult, almost gray things to get really what he wants. Like it
Hmm.
was almost like building off, I'm going to do this, 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 and this is what I'm going to do. So to me, in my way, how I see it is
Hmm.
that. But that's the thing about movies like these.
Yeah, because for me, all of this comes in tests, allies, and enemies, that they're
Huh.
learning what the new world is about. He's
Hmm.
learning that the new world is not going to let him in as easily as he thought it is. So
Hmm.
he's learning that these are the ways I will have to enter the new world. He's
Hmm.
learning
Hmm.
about himself, what kinds of tricks
Hmm.
he's going to play in this new world.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
that discovery process,
Hmm.
which for
Yeah.
me is tests, allies, and enemies.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that goes all the way from uh, getting into the traders union, getting rejected, getting the place shut, doing things he shouldn't do to get it opened again, meeting the character of the editor in chief of
Hmm.
Mathura Das, who becomes his mentor going on. Of spreading, of writing an article, getting Arzan contractor fired. Arzan contractor is a representative of old money, generational wealth, who's controlling everything. It's what else? They decide, they become successful. They decide to open a factory.
Hmm.
He and Sujata have a falling out.
Hmm.
All of that until they go to he goes, he wins her back. Great song, Tere Bina. Oh my god, I loved it so much.
Yeah.
So good, yeah.
And also
And
so well. shot. Like,
So
the thing with all the shadows and stuff they did, it was
yeah,
so nice.
so good, so good. And Ghost brings her back. They lay the foundation stone of their first factory. They have an IPO. They start doing really well. And then they go to a wedding. They're invited to Arzan contractor's daughter's wedding, and he tries to buy Guru out. He says everyone has a price. And that is the final beat of Test Allies and Enemies for me.
Fully agree. That's exactly what I've written. Finally, we got on the same mind.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think these are the important beats where you need to align, right? Like what
Yeah.
these kind of, especially approach to the innermost cave and ordeal. I think
Yeah.
these are the two most, if you have, because they build the most amount of, what do you call them, attention and action and all of that. Like even
With
if you look at it,
for your third act. Yeah. So like,
third act, like,
yeah.
yeah.
They say, like Act 2 is the most difficult because Act 1 is so much set up,
Mm,
and Act 3 is the payoff. So that is easy. But the
yeah.
stuff in this middle is so hard to crack. But
Mm,
the fact that we both align on that these are the beats for at least these three things, and like
yeah.
that's important. So this is like your centerpiece of the film.
An approach to the innermost cave is wiping out Arzan contractor's name, his reputation, going
Yeah.
all out in the press, buying all the newspapers that they can, calling all the editors, saying, ruin his reputation.
Yeah.
Essentially, delivering a big blow to old money and
Yeah.
saying, fuck you, right?
And also it's another level higher than his character we've seen before so far.
Yeah.
Like this is properly the moment when you realize Guru Kant Desai is not going to stop by hook or by crook. He is going to
Hmm.
do anything possible to like reach where he wants to reach.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. For sure. And then you have the ordeal, where they have to deal with the consequences of approaching the innermost cave,
Hmm.
right? Of
Yeah.
taking on the dragon in the cave. And over here, it is him getting into a war with his own mentor, with his own
Hmm.
father figure, Mathura Das, the editor in chief of the Independent of Swatantra Samachar, which and his biggest principle, Mathura Das's biggest principle, is telling the truth. And he hates the fact that Guru bought up his newspaper in his absence
Hmm.
and had them publish libel, essentially slander against the contractors. And now he gets in a journalist who's R. Madhavan's character to go after Guru throughout the film, throughout the next one third of the film, and take him down.
Yeah.
It turns into a war between the father figure and the son, right?
Yeah.
And this escalates consecutively all the way until he has to go meet a minister to get a license for petrochemicals, right?
Yeah.
And the reward is finally getting the petrochemicals license, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm great. I'm glad we're aligned on that. So the way back is Madhavan's character going into the factory, him interrogating one of his factory managers, the factory manager blurting out the truth about all the underhanded dealings, all of it coming out in the press, the shareholders realizing he's a thief, the factory manager trying to commit suicide, Guru Krant's getting a paralytic attack, and
Hmm.
finally getting summons for a commission where his
Yeah.
case is going to be heard,
Yeah.
right? And even attending the commission trials, the meetings,
Yeah.
whatever they are, the questioning, the panel, all
It
of
all
that,
falls under that. Yeah.
the way back
Yeah.
until he gives a speech, one that gets everyone revved up, the power of the common man, how rich people don't like it, that we now have power, that what they have made in 150 years, we made in 10 years. That is his resurrection.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then you have the return with the elixir, which is the closing image of the film, where he is now in a cricket stadium holding an AGM and saying, let's go even bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
And
so
the bigger life we are all seeing today, as per Wikipedia.
that's for Wikipedia. No, we didn't. No, no. Yeah. Cool. So that is our hero's journey. Hmm?
Yeah.
Uh, I think now what I really want to get into, because I think this is a big part of the film, is the character techniques,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? And let's go into building Gurup's character,
Okay.
because at no point,
Hmm.
at no point do they allow you to lose empathy for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is not a moment when you're on this character where this character is on your bad side.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I want to talk about the first 10 minutes of this film and the
Okay.
techniques they have used to build
Yeah.
empathy. And then
Okay.
I'll go into more of them later, very
Hmm.
specific moments.
Hmm.
Okay. The first is the opening image
Hmm.
where he says, सपने मत देखो,
Hmm.
सपने कभी पूरे नहीं होते, मेरे बापू ने कहा, लेकिन मैंने सपना देखा. The first lines of the film, immediately established as a rebel. You like a
Hmm.
rebel character. They're an underdog. You don't know if they're going to achieve instant empathy. One point there. Then he's failed his exams, but he's got a job. He finds a solution. He's ambitious. He wants to go make money. We like ambitious character. There, done. He has a fractured relationship with his dad, something everyone relates to. Goes, take one more point for him. Despite having a fractured relationship with his dad, he is always happy as a character. You never see him lose faith in himself, nothing. He's not uptight. He goes to a dance bar in Turkey. All of that. He's fun. Even the other
Hmm.
characters say when he's leaving that, Arey, abhi maza nahi aayega, now that we're
Hmm.
going, sirf kaam hi karna padega. So
Hmm.
he's not even like an uptight workaholic. He is sharp. They play
Hmm.
the game with like the scammers on the streets of Turkey where you have to
Hmm.
guess under which cup there's the ball. He wins that twice in a
Yeah.
row. And this is just in the first 10 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
All these techniques to build character, like relationships that we relate to, ambition, being the underdog, being smart, that's something we admire, being fun, that's something we like and we relate to, all used, all of
Yeah.
them. And if you notice, all the times in the film, they allude to, like later on in the newspaper, that he's bribed someone, he's done this,
Hmm.
he's done that. Not once do you see him do anything
Hmm.
that is categorically wrong.
Yeah.
Like you see him playing in the gray a little bit, and they play
Hmm.
those things with a lot of fun. Like he's
Hmm.
delivering bales of polyester to the IAS officer's house. That still falls in the category of fun.
Hmm.
But do you see him outright give someone a bribe? Do you see
Hmm.
him outright like export things, those empty cartons with
Hmm.
limestone, which
Hmm.
R. Madhavan's character uncovers? No. You
Hmm.
never see it from his eyes. You only let
Yeah.
it go as a reveal. So you can't build any you're always on your character side. Like
Yeah.
always.
Except for
And
one time we see him do like something almost like a blackmail of sorts, is I think with the minister, when
yeah,
and which makes total sense because after that it's the downfall.
downfall.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Until then, at every moment you are on this character's side. So,
Yeah.
what I do think though is that I will argue for and against this point that I'm making.
Yeah.
What they've done is sacrifice some character depth.
Hmm.
This character is he's very smart and sharp and all of that, but he's superficial. You never see another layer to him. And
Hmm.
what is a layer? What do I mean by a character trait versus character depth? Character trait is, okay, I'm fun, I'm ambitious, I'm sharp, all of that. But a character depth is having two traits which are almost being the keyword, opposite of each other.
Hmm. So what you're saying is essentially would be amazing if we had a moment like he is so out there, he's strong, he's bold, but that one moment of like, can I even do this? Like
Exactly.
that would
Self
have been
doubt,
really
exactly.
like self doubt or just feeling nervous, or is there a preparation phase which goes behind it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's so interesting. I never thought about that.
Mm. Yeah, so but I will also argue, like I said, against what I'm saying, which is
Hmm.
the tone of the film.
Hmm.
Now, the tone of the film is until you have, I think, almost the third act, the Sherho, the suicide attempt, the paralytic attack, all of that. Until that point, it's all very happy.
Hmm.
Everything is treated almost like a game, like a puzzle
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
They do not go into anything heavy, dark, and sad. And I think if Guru, the character we are so deeply, almost like whose story whose journey is intertwined with our viewing experience, if
Hmm.
we were to give him that moment of down, we
Hmm.
would also feel down with him. And I think
Hmm.
they very deliberately didn't want to do that as a tonal choice. They
Hmm.
wanted to be a fast film
Hmm.
because they've used a lot of scenes that are repetitive, which we'll get
Hmm.
into when we talk about scenes. But for you to go through them fast, to go along for the ride, they don't want to
Hmm.
take you down and make you sit with any emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. I I felt that yes, we never see him do questionable things, but it's always alluded. And but I've noticed this sort of like crazy drive movies, what I have realized what they do to like sort of build so much empathy. Of course, all the plot points you mentioned is absolutely bang on. But two things I've realized is that they do very, very consciously is that one is that they have to have their heart on the sleeve, you know, in the sense that he is very he's very respectful towards Mithun Chakrabarti's character.
Yeah.
He is extremely loving to his wife. He has that Mithun Chakrabarti's daughter, like Vidya Balan's character. He has such a good relationship with her.
Yeah.
Like he feels so strongly for the people he's working with. So all that really falls into this that he wears his heart on his sleeve. You're like,
Yeah.
and the second trait I've realized in these sort of like overconfident, narcissistic almost characters is that they use really charm and humor. They really keep amping up
Mm.
throughout the film. So
Yeah.
we know he has the gift of the gab in this movie, right? Like
Yeah.
whether it's talking to say Mithun's character or even the way he convinces Ashwarya, like it's so
Yeah.
easy to him. Like even the his final speech is so like well thought of, well crafted. Like and time to time it's also funny. I think they make your character very uh redeemable. Almost you root for them a lot. So that was also an interesting technique which I thought it's common across all these kind of like characters.
Yeah.
Mm,
For sure. Yeah. Very cool.
mm,
Nice.
mm,
Okay. Now, contrary to what I said about depth, I
mm,
think in Guru's character, I think Aishwarya Rai's character, they
mm.
have shown depth.
She was so good. Like her character was
So
so
good.
good. Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Like we start with her introduction, which is a song, Barso Re Megha Megha. And throughout the song, you only see her being playful.
Hmm.
Nothing else. She is dancing in the rain, she's herding goats, she's riding a bullock cart, she's playing with kids, she's, on a swing, all of those things, right? And you think she's just this frivolous gaon ki ladki.
Hmm.
Then you realize that she's a rebel too. She
Hmm.
is running away from home.
Hmm.
So you
Hmm.
realize there is another layer to her. She's not frivolous. She's actually
Hmm.
a deep thinker. She makes decisions for herself. She wants freedom. And then when she gets abandoned by the guy she was going to run away with, she doesn't lose her nerve and say, I'm going back to the village. It's like, I made this decision. I must stick to my guns. Even
Hmm.
though I'm very scared. Even though I'm very scared, I choose to be brave. That
Hmm.
is more depth.
Hmm.
Like, that's what I love about Aishwarya's character in this. This is just in her introduction. They have established so much complexity through the action she takes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
And another character I want to talk about, not from a character building point of view, but from a role point of view, is Mathura Das's character, the
hmm.
editor in chief of The Independent of Swatantra Samachar. Um, sure, his character is a mentor, that's
Hmm.
important. But I think I want to talk about the role he plays almost structurally.
Hmm.
Is when we are in the village,
Hmm.
we have a literal father character. He is kind of our antagonist, the
Hmm.
man that while Guru doesn't actively, he doesn't want to give him what the man wants, but he
Hmm.
wants to please him. He wants his father's love and appreciation, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And now, when we take him out of the village, that force goes away. We can't keep
Hmm.
cutting back to the village. There is no sense. So the writers also had to bring in another character who will
Hmm.
play that same role from
Hmm.
a trope point of view
Hmm.
in this film. And that's where
Hmm.
Mathura Das's character comes in. He's an instant father figure. He's
Hmm.
also very principled. He also has his rules. His
Hmm.
equivalent of it is you will not lie. That is his
Hmm.
primary principle. Like for that, for the father character, it's like be a man of like who lives a normal life. Like
Hmm.
get your education, get a job. But here it's you will not lie. And he's
Hmm.
trying to meet those principles every time, but he does fail and he does disappoint him. So there is
Hmm.
always a man whose ideals he needs to meet.
Hmm.
And that is the role this character plays, I think, here. So the technique here is essentially that you cannot take away an antagonist like this
Hmm.
or whatever you want to call this character, right?
Hmm.
So if you're moving away physically, what is the replacement to continue this
Hmm.
engine forward? How do you
Yeah.
keep providing the same sort of conflict and drive? So, yeah. Anything else on character?
I have something on Mathura Das's character only, but I'm going to bring that up in the world building part of the section.
Cool. Let's go on to world then.
Hmm.
Bring it on.
Okay, so now because we're talking about
Mm.
this character only, what there's something real about the way I thought this relationship was shown about Guru's relationship with this father slash mentor figure of Mathura Das. When you're at that stage where you're so big, like in this case, both the characters are sort of like front facing for the entire country, right? Like he is this big corporation, like where he has 30 lakh people he's answerable to. And Mathura Das's character runs the press, right? But there's also a personal relationship that you have with the same set of people, and that's something nobody sees, you know. And I
Yeah.
thought that that thing they did very nicely with Mathura Das's character in terms of the world. I thought the duality of public life versus personal life is
Hmm.
that something which this film like sort of like a little bit meanders on in some
Yeah.
way.
Something in this world is about showing the duality
Huh.
between public and private life, which is very true. And the other things that I found very true to the world is in the beginning of this film, especially when he's in Turkey and he doesn't speak any English and he
Hmm.
has a translator. I think that is solid.
Hmm.
I think when he says that I will marry her for the dowry, I l- I like this on two fronts. A, it's not setting it up to be a romantic relationship, and then
Hmm.
you get a very romantic relationship. So it's
Yeah.
like you start at a contradiction and then you build from it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So which is all how good relationships arcs are. But aside from that, from a world point of view, that's just true to the world, right?
Hmm.
Back in the age in which they're operating and the not just the time but the location, a village, Gujarat, it's like, yeah, I have to get married and
Hmm.
I'll do this for the dowry because it helps my business. I don't care who the girl is. And even Aishwarya, she brings this up later when they have their fight, where she says, I thought you married me to save my reputation because I
Hmm.
was someone who ran away and then got ghosted, who got stood up. Even she didn't bring up love there. Love was
Hmm.
something that happened to happen.
Yeah.
So that is very true to the world and time too.
Hmm.
I also really liked seeing the trading bullpens of the cloth market. Very true to
Yeah.
the world, right?
Yeah.
The AGMs being held physically
Hmm.
and are very true to the world. And what I really liked about these AGMs is they built on it. The first
Hmm.
was outdoors in a smaller place, then it was
Hmm.
at Marine Drive, then at the
Hmm.
end it's in the stadium. So they've shown the growth visually of the world. And these
Yeah.
were literally places where AGMs were held, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
stadium, all of that.
Yeah.
And there's one thing which mm, is about the world, which I'll talk
Hmm.
about, is in Abhishek and Aishwarya's relationship, Sujata and Guru. And I'm going to talk about the train because they've used
Hmm.
that as a motif. But I'm first going to
Hmm.
talk about it here from a world point of view. Then we can talk about it later in a genre tropes point of view.
Hmm.
Um, from so whenever you see Sujata and Guru's character in a house, they are usually it's a house which has space. You usually
Hmm.
see a lot of empty space, but the two of them are always playing hide and seek to
Hmm.
not get caught. But
Hmm.
then they're put in a train, and trains are by default really crowded spaces.
Hmm.
And then they're squeezed together for no fault
Hmm.
of their own. And that's when they have their moments of like looking at each other, stealing glances, etc. And I thought this was very true to the world, because
Yeah.
in the world in which they exist, in your house, which would have more space, they can't be close. But
Hmm.
in public, where you're pushed together, that's when you can be, and that's when it's a
Yeah.
blessing in disguise. So
Yeah.
they've used the worlds in which the characters exist very well here.
Hmm.
So
Very nicely observed, Ananya. Very cool. Hmm.
thanks, yeah, thanks. Yeah, so that's what I have on world.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then, do you want to go into genre tropes? Mostly because I have it written down here next.
Yeah. Um, there is generally in a movie like this, which spans like say decades, in the childhood, there is that one moment in the early days you see in which the character was really unique, which shows the nature of his whack mind, his acumen, and it's not a trigger in the story. Like that's a different thing. You see like sort of the early roots and colors of what the journey would become. So it's that moment with the in Turkey when they're playing, it's the glass in the bottle thing happening, where you immediately see before that it was all big calls that I've failed my exam, I'm going to Turkey, I'm working here. But this is that one character moment where he's like, I can see, like I can get the business done better than everybody here, you know? And again, it's not a trigger, but it's something which is very common in a lot of genre, like this genre film. Like I remember Life of Pi had the sequence where, you know, uh, like the entire thing about the character Pi was that he was very weird and very quirky in his own way. So we have the scene in the childhood where he's writing the number pi up till like 1,000 decimal numbers. Again, very inconsequential to plot, but it's that just one more extra layering of sorts into see what this character was like in their childhood, and it happens in like lots of like different films.
Why do you think they put that in there? Like, what's the idea? Like, why is this a genre trope?
I feel like it shouldn't seem to the audience that this character suddenly became this. Like it's almost like this character was always supposed to be a certain way.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, their ordinary life is something weird and quirky. That's why we are
huh,
watching this story.
the other genre trope actually comes very fast after this is that, in Turkey, he's on that trading floor of sorts, which is the younger actor playing Guru. The camera turns to the public, and when we come back to character, now it's the aged actor, you know? And it's something which you write in the script that this is the moment your characters now become like the older character, and you see this trope in like many movies. Like we saw one in Koi Mil Gya, like
Women.
he hits the ball, it's the younger Rohit, but he hits the ball again,
Yeah.
it's the older Rohit.
Rohit, yeah.
And this is a very true genre trope of like how do you like age of
Age.
age the actor essentially.
Nice. Then I want to bring in rom-com genre tropes because
Hmm,
we have the B plot, which is the romance plot between Aishwarya and Abhishek.
hmm.
Now, in the rom-com, first I want to bring up the meet cute.
Meet cute, yeah.
Yeah. So Aishwarya is ghosted by her lover. She gets onto the train anyway, and she sits on a seat that she thinks is empty, except that she has sat on Abhishek's legs.
Hmm.
And instantly a squabble starts over there. And then she starts crying, but he starts giving her unsolicited advice. But even that unsolicited advice, she doesn't take. So there is constant conflict, banter. She wants to crumple a letter with from her lover and throw it, but he's like, throw it when the train stops because it won't come back in with the wind. And she's like,
Yeah.
dude, shut the fuck up.
Oh,
Like,
she just thought like, hey, like he
yeah,
doesn't stop. Yeah, this man doesn't stop talking.
yeah. And why is this a genre trope? Is because movies are built on going on a journey, right? Aishwarya and Abhishek's arc only to begin with.
Hmm.
You don't expect romance
Yeah,
because of the time and all of that. But over here, you need to seed in more conflict so that the
yeah,
romance actually lands.
yeah,
So this is why even in a rom-com, you have to have them get off on the bad foot so that
yeah,
you're starting from negative to be able to go into the high numbers and have the
yeah.
high number have impact. And the next is their own space, the train.
Hmm.
Coming back to that. So they meet on the train. Then the first time they actually start falling in love is on the train when they set off to Bombay. Then the first time you start seeing cracks in their relationship, he is alone on the train going with bales of polyester.
Hmm.
Then the moment they have their big fight, a tram goes between them.
Yeah.
And then Aishwarya goes back alone on the train with her brother.
Hmm.
So they have used this very well. And yes, I'll tell you why I think this is a trope more than anything else. Because I was
Hmm.
watching another show right now too, The Buccaneers.
Hmm.
And even there, they always isolate a couple of characters to the beach, even
Hmm.
though their story is mainly a romance about them.
Hmm.
But the reason they do it is because you know that in that moment, no other storyline is going to be focused on. You, as a
Hmm.
viewer, have to turn your attention to this storyline. It is almost like we are conditioned by the filmmaker to know that when they're in a train, don't expect dhande ki baat and stuff. Like
Hmm.
I will show you an example of this because they have the scene where Aishwarya and Abhishek are in bed and he
Hmm.
starts tickling her. They start, like slapping each
Yeah.
other and all. And then finally he comes onto and it turns into business. She's like, what
Yeah.
will we eat? Where will we sleep? And he's like, I'll open a polyester business.
Yeah.
And but when they're together on the train and stuff, it's only stolen glances. It's only
Yeah.
them thinking of each other. So it isolates the emotion of that track. Like no
Hmm.
other part of the world can touch them. So it tells the
Hmm.
audience that get into this story now and this moment of
Yeah.
this here. So
Hmm.
yeah, that.
That's very interesting. Like, I never thought from a space point of view.
So yeah, this is what I have on genre tropes.
Hmm. Hmm. Very cool.
Eh? Cool. Next, what do you want to get into?
Shall we do scenes and sequences?
Sure, yeah. Let's.
Hmm. Um, I want to talk about again coming back to Aishwarya Rai's and Abhishek Bachchan, like Sujata and Guru's relationship, is that when when we start seeing Guru progressing in life, it's like we could have had 100 shots of like him getting a bigger space and like him going around the market like talking to 100 people, actually wealth increasing like in his bank account, 100 other ways we could do, but it's very nicely consciously done with Aishwarya Rai's his wife's character that you know let's say ki um him going to the like when he's going to his village to sell the polyester, like he's alone on the train, she's home waiting for him. Then we see a letter come, like she writes the letter to him back. He comes to hug her back, they buy a new car. All of these are moments which show his progression, and sort of she's there around, like it's but the lens is through the romantic relationship. And I thought it was very nice, but I realized the importance of this much later in the next scene is because they have the fight after this moment. Is when
Yeah.
she comes to know that he married her just because there was like a huge amount of money put on her dowry. And these moments sort of cemented, and only to see the impact of that fight immediately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought this sequence was done really nicely. Uh, it's almost like reminding the audience that what their relationship is, so that when it falls apart, it break
There's
like it.
impact. It's again contradiction for impact, like two
Yeah,
different ends of the range for
yeah,
impact.
yeah.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
this sequence I really loved.
Yeah.
Um, shall I say more?
Sure.
Then there is that there's a scene of helicopter and the minister scene. I know we spoke about it in terms of that it being the reward sequence, you know, and that's the only sequence we also see him a little bit nervous when while he's on the way to the plane. But I did not understand anything of that
Me neither.
sequence. Like what it was, what it was not. Like I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of tried to look about, and I went back to do some research about it. And they said that it was actually a very important meeting back in the day, which was between Dhirubhai Ambani and Rajiv Gandhi.
Oh.
And nobody knows what happened in that meeting, but it was a very short 10-minute meeting. And that's exactly what is alluded in the film. So I do think now this is where I feel a film becomes a little bit pandering and almost a little harmful to the structure of the film when you start including scenes which happened either in public, like, the audience remembers this and you want to recreate this almost in some way, like scandalizing the situation, right? In some way,
Yeah.
like, oh, this is that meeting everybody was talking about. Like, it almost makes you like lean in. Like for us who had no context of that, I was like, what is happening? Like, why do I know nothing about this?
Yeah, yeah. There was no explanation, no head or tail to it. Like, I was gonna ask you, like, what do you think happened in that scene?
Yeah.
Like, even from if you ignore the conversation and stuff,
Hmm.
there
Yeah.
wasn't even any emotion there for us
Yeah.
to understand what was going on. And I think because it's so related to an event that went down in real life, it doesn't
Yeah.
even age well. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. What could be a very interesting premise is that the entire film is about that 10 minute of
Yeah.
interaction would be so fucking cool to see, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the preparation up to that moment, what happened and what happens in that meeting and the aftermath. Like that would be like a
Yeah.
very cool way to structure a biopic.
Exactly.
Another sequence scene, which I think the technique is unpredictability, is comes in the court hearing when it's just a private hearing and the judge says, oh, tomorrow the cameras will not be there, the public will be there. So if you want to say something, say today. And Guru's character, who wasn't talking at all so far, he like comes ahead, everybody leans in, he does this to mic, and he says, I just wanted to say namaste, and
Yeah.
goes back. So again, so clever in that moment that you think, oh my god, this is gonna be the big speech now, or he's gonna say,
Yeah.
but no, it
Uh,
immediately draws you back into his character again. So
yeah.
I thought that was a good unpredictability in a scene.
Same.
Hmm,
Definitely. For sure.
hmm,
Yeah.
hmm,
Yeah. So another scene I want to talk about is is conflict over logic again.
hmm,
Okay. So Abhishek Bachchan meets Sujata's character in the train. They don't recognize each other.
hmm.
Later, you realize she is his best friend's
Sister.
sister. I'm like,
Yeah,
how did you not recognize her?
yeah.
Then I gave it some logic in my head and I went all, Are, he left when he was so young.
Hmm,
When he came to the village, someone told him, Are, tujhe to pehchana hi nahi. So
hmm,
same way, usne to isse bhi pehchana bhi nahi. But they've not drawn any attention to it. They've not
hmm.
bothered getting into it. Nothing.
Yeah.
And I think the learning there is that
Hmm,
as long as you have conflict,
hmm,
you don't care if it doesn't have logic or if it's a coincidence.
hmm,
Abhishek and Aishwarya, their whole relationship starts out on conflict. They don't get on. He's literally kind of like marrying her for the dowry. There's all
hmm,
that conflict that's riveting. So you don't
hmm,
care that logic has been lost there.
hmm. Yeah. Movie logic. I say all the time,
Movie
it's movie
logic.
logic. It's not supposed to be logical, it's movie logic.
But there has to be like a
Of course.
understanding of
Of
why.
course. Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Then another scene I really liked, which is again a different way of playing out a scene, of
Hmm.
thinking of scenes different ways, is when
Hmm.
he goes into the journalist's house, R. Madhavan's house, towards the end of the film to give him a earful
Hmm.
and to fight with
Hmm.
him. And he's
Hmm.
like, dude, what do you think you're doing? What's going on? Like, you can't come after me like this. And then he sees the photo of R. Madhavan and Vidya Balan's character married. And
Hmm.
the whole tone of the scene changes in that.
Changed. Yeah.
He's like, wait, y'all are married? What? You didn't find anyone else to get married to? Like,
Yeah.
and he goes, Vidya Balan's character joins the scene. Madhavan brings her down to meet Abhishek Bachchan because he knows those two have a relationship. It turns into a very soft scene.
Hmm.
And then at the end of it, Madhavan simply says, nothing between us is changing.
Hmm.
And that could have been a screaming scene, where they're both
Yeah.
screaming at each other and they come, there's a status quo is unchanged. Nothing is changing.
Hmm.
Instead of doing that boring scene, they're like, how else could we play this? And they're
Yeah.
like, he might not know that they're married. Let's use that to turn the scene around, but come to the same conclusion that the status quo
Hmm.
is the status quo.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, uh, but another scene I liked a lot, a
Hmm.
moment, I'd say, is when we're in the courtroom/committee hearing. for Guru's first hearing, and the judge or the leader of the commission speaks in English. It's almost
English.
accented English, yeah. And then these two, Aishwarya speaks on behalf of Guru, where she's like, "We are simple village people, speak in
Hmm.
Hindi, no?" And
Yeah.
you think that this is, and the reason they do this, they always play this card, right? We're the
Hmm.
common man, we're the common man, you don't relate to us, you don't like us. And the
Hmm.
judge switches to perfect Hindi. And he's
Hmm.
like, if you're trying to prove something here, you're going to fail
Hmm.
at doing this. And
Hmm.
what they do in this moment is they
Hmm.
say that this cannot be a class war anymore. You are
Hmm.
not being judged by people who are the antagonist. You're being
Hmm.
judged by people who are like you almost in that
Hmm.
sense. So
Hmm.
you can't play that card to elicit empathy for yourself anymore.
Hmm.
So this is a good way of raising almost the conflict
Yeah.
in this scene, that you have an equal. So
Hmm.
they've taken away the power card. So you
Hmm.
take away your last sort of move that
Hmm.
your son has. So him
Hmm.
alone doesn't work. That's why at the end he has to bring in the whole public who's supportive
Hmm.
to the cause.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's 1:1. Now it's
Hmm.
many is to a small group.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I
Nice.
liked. And then I want to talk about the AGM, and everyone is angry with him, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think the choice there of holding it in the rain.
Hmm. Hmm.
So all the shareholders are really angry at him.
Hmm.
And if you think of it from a normal perspective, okay, if it's raining, no one's going to come for your open air AGM.
Hmm.
But यहाँ सब लोग आए छाते के साथ
Hmm.
चिल्लाने के लिए. So
Hmm.
that goes to show how angry everyone is. So
Hmm.
under what circumstances can your emotion be even more amplified
Heightened.
is the question you have to ask when you're writing these scenes. So third, yeah, how can you up an emotion?
Hmm. Yeah.
And now one thing, uh, it's not really a technique or anything, but something I noticed which they did and which we could never pull off, but Mani Ratnam can pull off because he has the
Yeah.
budget and he's Mani
Yeah.
Ratnam. Is okay. So now Aishwarya and Abhishek have had a big fight. She has
Hmm.
learned that he essentially married her for dowry, all of that. She's left, she's gone back to the village in Gujarat. Now, Abhishek isko kaise manayega, right? That is the
Hmm.
next question. If even a writer at our level, what would I try to do? I would try to seed some setup in earlier. Like
Hmm.
Aishwarya wanted ABC. It's a very bad example, but she wanted ABC. It's very hard to get. So he goes, does some personal sacrifice, loses something in the process, gets it for her, and
Hmm.
comes back and wins her
Hmm.
over. Okay. But over here, because this is a beautiful Bani Ratnam film, they have a song sequence of
Hmm.
Tere Bina,
Hmm. Hmm.
where they tell you through the lyrics of the song ke tere bina sona peetar, tere
Hmm.
bina peetar peetar, like they tell you that there's
Hmm.
longing.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to establish that he has to win her over.
Hmm.
You know that they're both longing for each other. All
Yeah.
he has to do is show up and get her, and he
Yeah.
does that.
Yeah.
Now, most of us don't have the liberty because when we do tell, not show, we get kind of Roger.
Yeah.
But if you do it through a beautiful song sequence, I
Yeah.
think it's valid. And one
Yeah.
more thing I really liked about the song sequence is while the lyrics are of yearning, of longing,
Hmm.
most of the visuals are of them together. It's of
Yeah.
how they want to be. So again, keeping it in line with the tone of the film, that even a song of longing has visuals of togetherness and joy
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
beauty.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very well done. Just had a couple of notes more on dialogue. I think I want to point out a line of subtext,
Hmm.
which is very fleeting but very well done. So this happens at their meet cute. Sujata
Hmm.
has just been left by her lover, ghosted, stood up by her lover, who has said that I can't run away. Like, log kya kahenge? You know, gaon mein sab
Hmm.
log kya kahenge?
Hmm.
And she gets into the train,
Hmm.
and Abhishek says something to her that I'm going to the village or something like that.
Hmm.
And she says, गाँव के अलावा तुम लोगों को कुछ सूझता नहीं है क्या? गाँव के
Hmm.
बाहर का you can't. And it's like she wants to live this big life, this big world. This has just
Hmm.
happened to her. And instead, she's stuck, like instead everyone around her only cares about like a small life. So I thought the
Hmm.
subtext of what she's actually going through was very well done in that one line.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think subtext is really important to get the character's inner world out
Hmm.
without it being on the nose.
Hmm. Yeah. One very small dialogue, which is like he's asked, "नाम क्या था तुम्हारा?" and he says, "था नहीं, है
Yeah.
और रहेगा गुरु देसाई." It
Again,
like
subtext.
again subtext that something which is so commonly said in the world, like, "What was your name, by the way?" And he says, "No, not was. It is,
Yeah,
and it will stay." So again, you've turned a usual saying or a colloquial saying, turning a
definitely.
usual saying and to have a spin on it is it's an interesting thing.
Definitely, yeah, for
Hmm.
sure. Yeah. And
Hmm.
it drives home the underlying idea that you will remember my name, like going
Yeah.
forward. This movie, I mean, the movie is called Guru, like literally, it
Right.
is about
Yeah.
remembering his name.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's all.
That's all, yeah, that's all I have on Guru too. This
Yeah.
was a fun watch, a nice trip down memory lane for us. Thank you for recommending it, Akshay. I wouldn't have thought of it myself at all. Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, y'all know the drill. Hit like, share, subscribe to the channel. Any questions, any recommendations, want us to break down anything, want to have a breakdown, you can do it all in the comments. We'll get back to you. We're your Breakdown Besties, and we'll see you next Thursday on our next episode. Bye.
Bye bye, guys. Hi again, bestie. How's it going? For our next episode, we're breaking down another Abhishek Bachchan film. And it also has Vidya Balan like it did in Guru. And we have with them Amitabh Bachchan. Uh, I'm going to put the guessing to end. Next week, we're breaking down Pa. So see you next Thursday.